Growing a community or growing a business requires strong leadership, energy, and enthusiasm. In today's address, we'll hear from the port's progress to date, and we'll look ahead with them to the future challenges and opportunities. Today's program will feature speakers from the three of our ports. Please hold your questions till the end so that we can give enough time to each of them to speak today. At this time, first up, we'll hear from the Port of PASCO, Commissioner Gene Reichman. Gene is a currently commissioned president from the Commissioner's President for the Port of PASCO and former General Manager of the Franklin PUD. She is past president of the PASCO School Board. Gene graduated with the highest honors with an AS degree in engineering from Columbia Basin College and was named Alumni of the Year in 2002. Because of the many positive mentors in her life, Gene is dedicated to community involvement. She currently serves on many local boards and volunteer committees. Please help me welcome Gene Reichman. Gene.
They even left the clicker for me. So, an obvious change since we last met is a change in the makeup of our commission. We have two new commissioners. Ron Ryman was elected in 2011, and he replaced the vacancy left by Bill Clark. I was appointed in July of last year to the seat vacated by Ernie Boston. So with a new commission, Ron and I are fortunate to have Jim Klindworth as a wonderful mentor and a very patient person with us as we move forward. So since we last met, the Port of PASCO has completed several capital projects. We have partnered with the City of PASCO, and we are jointly out to bid on 2 miles of rail project. 1 mile will be for the Heritage Industrial Center, and that's north of Big Pasco. And the second mile will complete the last mile of rail in Big Pasco, completing the Big Pasco Intermodal Hub project. We sold 2.5 acres of land to Second Harvest in the Foster Wells Business Park, and that's located within the Pasco Processing Center at Highway 395 and Foster Wells Road. Second Harvest constructed a 14,000 square foot building, and it was done with labor union and volunteers to do that labor. As part of the land sale, the port installed the infrastructure in Foster Wells, and that opened up another 40 acres for future development there. So since we last spoke in 2011, the port has invested in non-aviation projects $4.1 million of capital improvements. So now for the elephant in the room. What's going on at the Tri-City Airport? I'm sure you've all heard at least something about the airport and possible expansion. Did you know that the Tri-Cities Airport serves 655,000 people from southeastern Washington and northeastern Oregon? That's a large catchment area. So we all know our area is growing, but the U.S. Census Bureau reported that the Tri-Cities was the nation's fastest growing metro area between 2010 and 2011. So the port completed a master plan in 2012. That is the blueprint to guide any future airport development. That plan identified the need to expand every single aspect of the Tri-Cities Airport, from parking to the airfield, to keep up with this unprecedented growth. And we also need to preserve our capacity to extend for future extension of our runways. As of today, our current terminal facility is undersized by 11%. If we don't do anything, it will be undersized by 25% within the next 10 years. So as you can see from this slide, since 1998, our passenger boardings have nearly doubled. And the majority of that increase has occurred in the last 6 years, with about an additional 100,000 passengers. Passenger boardings are projected to double again within the next 20 years. So this graph predicts the future growth. Even the conservative projections, the line on the bottom with the conservative projections, tell us that we still need to expand the airport to accommodate the record-breaking growth that we have experienced and expect to experience in the future. So this slide shows from the airport master plan, in order to remain a viable airport capable of accommodating future growth, the improvements must be made across all aspects of the airport. These drawings show the future expansion needs to both the airfield here and to the terminal parking down in the bottom, and you can see multiple areas that need to be expanded and improved. So projections indicate that airlines will be using larger airplanes in the not too distant future. That will require longer runways to operate. The airport currently only has one runway that has the capability of being extended. So in late 2012, the port completed the purchase of 34 acres of non-aviation property that's northwest of the airport in order to preserve our ability to expand that runway to accommodate those larger aircraft that are expected. We are really thankful to the Hanford Area, and I have to read this because this is a tongue twister, the Hanford Area Economic Investment Fund Committee for approving a $1 million loan through their investment loan fund, allowing us to purchase that 34 acres of property on December 31st at a cost of $1.7 million. The land purchase is shown in the yellow triangle on this slide. So on November 8th, now we get to the exciting part. On November 8th, the Port Commission approved this conceptual design for the Tri-Cities Airport Terminal. The red dotted line is the footprint of the existing terminal. The major modifications that will be made to the terminal building include opening up the entryway, shown in purple in the center, bottom center, by moving the staircase we're all familiar with and the elevator and the public restrooms to the front of the building. We will reconfigure baggage claim, as shown in blue on the slide, and move the car rental agencies into that area where the baggage claim is. The restaurant will be moved to the secured boarding area and will be enlarged, but we will provide a compact food service area for the public in the front of the terminal building. So those changes will create space for 4 screening lanes, and those are depicted in kind of a yellowish color in the center of the slide, and a larger improved queue line. Construction of the new concourse and secured boarding area in brown will double the size of the existing terminal. It's kind of green, isn't it? Greenish brown, okay? It will create a larger, more open boarding area with passenger seating to accommodate 450 people, which is about twice the number of passengers we can now accommodate, and up to 5 boarding gates. And it also gives us the ability to add more gates as the demand grows. So a new checked bag screening area will be constructed behind the ticket counters, and that's over on the right in the brown. So that allows us to move back those ticket counters and give more space for passenger check-in, and it's also going to provide added space for the airlines to add more check-in kiosks. The building bump out that was added to the front of the building after 9/11 will be removed at this time, and then it will give us the ability to accommodate more passenger drop-off and pickup. Isn't it pretty? So the port has to accomplish all this while leaving the airport operational. So we have a video that's going to work that shows how we will do all of this. First, we have to add a temporary baggage claim area, and then that will allow us to go and remove the walls in that existing area. And then the new baggage claim will go in, and the new car rental counters will be located there. Then we can put in those new restrooms at the front of the building. So when we get back to the concourse, we're going to build temporary restrooms, and they assure me they will not be outhouses. Remove walls where the restrooms are now, and we'll be placing a temporary wall there. You drive up to the terminal. This is what you'll see. That's not what you'll see. So early in the project discussion, the commissioners organized a citizens advisory committee comprised of community leaders and users of the airport to provide input to us on the needs and design of the airport. They have been a great asset to the commission and have really provided valuable input to us. Their input from day one has always been build it big, build it nice. It is the gateway to our community. And build it fast, like how about tomorrow? The philosophy of the Port Commission has always been that the users of the terminal are the ones that should be paying for the upgrades. And I'm happy to report that Tri-City Airport revenue has been exceeding operating expenses since 2006, which has given us a little bit of reserves to start with. So a financial analysis of the project was presented to the Commission and to the Citizens Committee on February 20th. And although that was only a week ago and we're still kind of digesting that information, the report did show the commissioners and the committee that the entire $36 million project can be financed, but only by delaying other important projects in the airport outside of the terminal and assuming some measure of risk on continued passenger growth. So a large portion of that financing would come from airport-backed bonds and dedicated federal funding programs. We expect to bond about $24 million and about $3 million in federal entitlement and grants. The risks include loss of a major airline or decrease in passenger boarding, among others. But what's next? We expect to move forward with this project. We will finalize the conceptual design and develop the bid documents in order to stay on course to start the construction, hopefully next year. And now you know the rest of the story.
Thank you, Gene. We got a lot of exciting things going on in the Port of PASCO. Appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to introduce Roy Keck. Roy was elected to the Port of Benton Board of Commissioners in 2007 and currently the commission president. He is a native of Richland, and retired project manager for Energy Northwest after 35 years in the nuclear plant industry. An avid gearhead, Roy is a founder of the Tri-Cities Cool Desert Nights car show, which is currently in its 20th year. Roy looks forward to the opportunities to advocate the future of regional investment in energy research and its related infrastructure and jobs. This time I'd like to welcome Roy Keck. Roy.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you for allowing me to come here on behalf of the Port of Benton, as I'm the Port's biggest cheerleader and very excited to share with you some of the great things we're doing within our Port District. In order to keep your attention for the rest of this talk, there can be a quiz at the end. However, I'm going to give you the answers to this quiz right up front here. The answers are team sport, Yakima River, and a winning team. Okay, you write those down because you'll need those later. The Port of Benton team includes myself and my fellow commissioners, Bob Larson and Jane Haggerty. Okay. And the rest, and our executive director, of course, Scott Keller, and the rest of his team. Okay. The Port of Benton team provides stewardship for public assets. That's our job. These assets include properties and infrastructure. The team has many public and private partners, and we promote family-wage jobs in manufacturing, research and development, transportation, ag business, and quality of life. Regionally, we work with the Benton County, the Port of Kennewick, and the Port of PASCO, the City of Richland, the City of Prosser and Benton City, CBC, WSU, the P&L Lab, Hanford Contractors, and TRIDEC. One example of this team effort is the Mid-Columbia Energy Initiative and its related 1,600-acre request from DOE, and we're doing this jointly with Benton County, the City of Richland, and TRIDEC. A quick overview of some of our asset portfolio is that the port currently has 2,100 acres of property, 40 buildings, and most important, I think, is the fact that we are home for 3,300 jobs on our port sites. Turning to the Port of Benton, the county, is that the Port of Benton shares Benton County with the Port of Kennewick, and we are divided by the Yakima River. The Port of Benton's district includes the City of Richland north of the Yakima River and the entire Hanford Reservation, the City of Benton City, and Prosser. The Port of Kennewick, you'll hear from in a minute, includes the City of Richland south of the Yakima River and includes West Richland. Turning to our 2013 budget, is that the total budget for next year for the Port of Benton is going to be $14 million. It's made up of $4 million in O&M and A&G, which incidentally is offset by the fact that we produce income from our leases of $3.9 million. The $14 million for 2013 has $4 million for O&M, like I mentioned, another $1 million in debt service, and this year we have $9 million in capital projects. The 2013 capital projects budgets includes $3.7 million for the completion of the Walter Core and Culinary Center in Prosser. Another $2.3 will replace the wooden railroad bridge there on Columbia Park Trail. An additional $600,000 will be used this year for the Crow Butte Park Marina improvements. Our income comes from $3.9 million from leases, $6.5 million this year from grants, $2 million from taxes. And our current tax levy rate for our constituents is 42 cents per thousand. In the Port District is the Tri-City Research District. This is an asset for the entire Tri-Cities region and the state. The Port is a partner with the Tri-City Research District that provides staff time and leadership. The district is a State of Washington Innovation Partner Zone. The 1,700-acre research district has 5 major owners, with the port having 2 sites within that district. One of the sites is the Richland Innovation Center. It's a 71-acre site, formerly part of the Hanford 3000 area. This site is planned for high-tech research and development, offices and labs, and is zoned light industrial. Some of our current tenants in the Regional Innovation Center includes Columbia Energy, 2 new commercial buildings that you can see that are in construction there. One will be the future office for GISA. Another one of our sites in the research district is the Technology and Business Campus. The campus is a 250-acre site in North Richland with river frontage, and is formerly part of the Camp Hanford site. And included in the campus is the Port's barge slip, and part of the PNL campus, and the Port of Benton's new office building right there. Going to the other end of the research district, to the south end, you'll find the Wine Science Center. The Port provided land as a part of our partnership with WSU's Tri-Cities, the City of Richland, and the Science Center Public Development Authority. This design and build project has been approved by the state of Washington, with construction planned to start in the fall of this year. Going back to the north end of the research district, we have the USS Trident Sail Park. The Port completed the sail park last year thanks to the special efforts of Marv Kinney and Roger Wright. The USS Trident, the submarine itself, was the first sub to circle the entire world underwater, and it did it back in 1960 in 76 days. The other footnote that I think is interesting with this sub is the only U.S. sub that has 2 nuclear reactors into it. And both those reactors are now out at Hanford. They unloaded them in our barge slip back in 2010. Inside the sail itself is the conning tower and the periscope. And the whole park overlooks the our barge slip, rather, and the Columbia River, and is located at the end of the Tri-Cities Loop Trail. If you go take the trail all the way to North Richland, you'll circle the sail. I mentioned that the periscope is installed, and looking through the periscope, here we're looking upstream under low resolution up the reach. But if we look east, we can look directly into Doc Hastings' house. And looking south, we can see the entire research district and the Port's new office building, and Scott's new office. Additionally, in Richland, there on the south end of the research district, we have the manufacturing mall. The Port of Benton's manufacturing mall is a 760-acre site. It's zoned light and heavy industrial. It's formerly part of the 1100 area. Its current tenancy includes Kaiser Aluminum, Energy Solutions, American Rock, and Tri-City Railroad. The Port also owns a 16-mile short line railroad that connects to BNSF and the UP railroads near Columbia Center. Another asset we have in Richland is the Tri-City Enterprise Center. Located in the city of Richland's Horn Rapids Business Park, it includes tenants for the B-Reactor Tours, Ethel Bakery, White Plus Brewery, and coming soon is the new Shrub Step Smokehouse Brewery. Now look at this here photo there on the bottom. We find our airport director, John Hawkison, providing a little quality check there at White Bluffs. Also in Richland, we have the Richland Airport. Richland Airport has 650 acres, zoned light and medium industrial, and has a lit 4,000-foot-long runway. Richland is a general multi-use airport and the home for 150 airplanes. And it has FFA support, and we have a fixed-based operators, sometimes called FBO. And current tenants there includes MedStar, Almost Gourmet Restaurant, the Buckskin Golf Course, and the annual Kids Fly Free program last year provided free airplane rides for 200 kids. Now, moving from Richland to Benton City, the Port has a 16-acre site that includes tenants for ripsheet.com and elevator manufacturing. The Port also owns a couple of buildings downtown that supports community redevelopment efforts there. One of the buildings is a 100-year-old building and is now the new home for Logar Pharmacy and Somi Purdy. The other building is the old Benton City Fire Station. It's a 4,500 square foot building that's being currently rebuilt for reuse. Going further west, we have the Prosser Airport. The Prosser Airport has a 120-acre site located next to it. The airport is a 3,500-foot long lit runway. Like Richland, it also is a multi-use airport with FFA and FBO. And some of its current tenants includes Checkers Cherries, which I noticed is on everybody's table. So enjoy. They're one of our tenants. Thank you. Milne Fruit, and it's the home of the annual the Great Prosser Rally, the Bloom Rally, which attracts thousands of spectators every year. Also in Prosser, we have the Prosser Vintner Village. The Vintner Village is a 50-acre site. It started out with 32 acres originally, and we added another 18 last year. And it's the home of the Yellow Rose Nursery, the Seven Gables Bed and Breakfast, and 14 wineries. And incidentally, we still have 19 sites available in phase 2, the piece we added on last year. So, also in Prosser is the Prosser Wine and Food Park. The park has 122 acres. It's zoned industrial with a port development building and a public park, which incidentally is the home of the annual Prosser Scottish Fest. Its tenants includes a distillery and several wineries, and one of them includes the Mercer Estates, started by Mike Hogue, right there. Finally, in Prosser, we have the Walter Core Wine and Culinary Center. The port owns a 16-acre site in Prosser overlooking the Yakima River. It's right next to the Desert Wind Winery. Last year, we completed the 2,400 square foot pavilion, and it has hosted several local events in it. On-site construction started last month on the main 15,000 square foot Walter Core Center. When finished, it will promote local wines and foods to local businesses and tourist industry and support ongoing wine industry training. Finally, turning to Crow Butte Park. Crow Butte Park is a 275 acres park located on a 1,500-acre island in the middle of the Columbia River down the southwest corner of Benton County. And it's right next to the Klickitat County line, approximately about 50 miles from here, about 1 hour drive. The port has completed many improvements and our capital budget for 2013 includes another $500,000 for improvements to the marina and playground. As you can see, we're very, very proud, particularly I am very, very proud of all the accomplishments the port has done, and I want to thank you for letting me brag them up. Now for the quiz. Okay, remember the questions? Okay, the question number 1, economic development in the Tri-Cities is what kind of a sport? Team sport, come on. Okay, what divides Richland's 2 port jurisdictions? Yakima River. Okay, and partnering with the ports, any of the ports will put you on what kind of a team? A winning team. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Our final speaker today is the Port of Kennewick Commissioner Skip Novakovich. Skip is the 2013 president for the Port of Kennewick's Board of Commissioners. Elected in 2009, Skip's district includes parts of Kennewick, Richland, West Richland, Benton City, and unincorporated areas of Benton County. In 2011, Skip was recognized as the Tri-City of the Year. He is a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and is a graduate of Whitman College with a degree in economics. Skip and his wife, Shannon, own a free graphic communications and printing and design company in downtown Kennewick. Please help me welcome Skip Novakovich.
Well, I'm very honored to be here today, and Lori, I want to thank you and your board of directors and all the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce for allowing all the ports, but the Port of Kennewick particularly, to be here and speak to you today. We're going to tell you a little bit about what the Port of Kennewick has done last year and a little bit about what we've got going on in the future. And I'd like to recognize our staff and Commissioner Wagner right over there. Tana Bader and Glima will be my clicker person, my Vanna White today, and hopefully I can keep up with her. So we'll go through this and see how we do. First of all, as Commissioner Keck talked a little bit about areas and stuff, the Port of Kennewick was formed in 1915 as the 4th port district in the state of Washington. We're started out as a 5 square mile district to take advantage of shipping opportunities on the Columbia River. We've now evolved into a 485 square mile area with 125,000 residents. We go from all of Kennewick, as you can see there, we go past Findlay to the Columbia River. On the east, we go to a little portion of Benton City. On the west, and then everything south of the Yakima River to the Columbia River on the south. So we're a fairly large area. We have 5 jurisdictional partners that we partner with on economic development: the City of Kennewick, City of Richland, City of West Richland, Benton City, and of course, Benton County. We work closely with them on economic development, and that is actually what our mission is economic development, creating jobs, and creating a better future for future generations. Everything we do is based on partnerships and how we can better this area economically and aesthetically for our constituents. A little bit about the Port of Kennewick. This is a picture of the Spalding Business Park before we developed it. As you drive on Highway 240 between Richland and the Columbia Center Boulevard, that area has improved tremendously over the last few years. That's a Port of Kennewick project. It's had a lot of investment. 2012 saw the Derma Health building completed, Willamette Dental, a new attorney's office, and then Blair Sampson purchased 5.6 acres to construct a new medical office. So far, there's been 164,000 square feet of buildings completed there, and we're looking at about another 60,000 square feet to be completed in 2013. We transformed a tired neighborhood, created those buildings and businesses, and now they're creating jobs, and the port's looking to do exactly the very same thing in other parts of our district. One example, and the one that I'm probably really excited about, is the bridge-to-bridge area in Clover Island. Clover Island is owned by the Port of Kennewick in downtown Kennewick. We took what was a very, well, basically, what else can you say? An ugly river shore there on the left-hand side. And actually, that was an area that I was told that contractors took and just dumped a bunch of stuff there and created, I guess a place to put refuge. And we've created that into what's a very nice living shoreline that we call the Clover Island Riverwalk, and it ends at the Lighthouse Plaza. Last year, inspired by what the port has done on the island, the private sector, the Clover Island Yacht Club, invested about $500,000 in upgrade to their facilities. They added a new walkway, a new fuel dock, and they removed the old wood frame covered moorage and replaced it with a steel structure that you can see there that complements the Port of Kennewick's marina that's further to the east. Our work to revitalize Clover Island has resulted in more spending in downtown, and it's helping to showcase our region as a waterfront destination community. On Columbia Drive, the area that's the darker area right there towards the backside is Duffy's Pond. The area that's shaded in there is land that the port owns between the causeway going onto the island and the cable bridge. There's 28 acres there. The Port of Kennewick owns 16 of those acres right now. We've taken an area that was by the Kennewick Police Department. One of the areas that we just closed on was the Mejia property, the old Chieftain Motel. That was one of the highest crime areas in the Tri-Cities. We just bought that, and we're looking at taking it down and, of course, creating something a lot nicer, something that this whole region can be proud of. We're hoping to add retail space, maybe some residential, walking paths, artwork, other public amenities, maybe wineries. Not really sure. Actually, Gary Black, who's a professor of architecture at Berkeley, will be here next month to work with our citizens team that we put together on a pattern language and he'll expand on that. Then in East Kennewick, oh, I skipped that one. Okay, there's part of what we've done on Columbia Drive right there last year. We've demolished some buildings that were pretty well worn. We tried to save buildings that were possibly could be repurposed for other uses. And to tell you, lately we've had interest from a couple of private sector people that are very, very interested in coming down there and repurposing some of those buildings, particularly that one you see in the background. Nothing's signed yet, but there's a lot of interest, and we're pretty excited about those possibilities. In East Kennewick, we own some incubator property on Oak Street, and I believe that by the end of this year, or the end of, maybe even by fall, we'll have those buildings rehabbed to look like what you see there now, and we'll be looking at dividing those spaces up and providing startup places for other businesses. We had a business that was in there that took over more and more space, and they actually graduated out, Thai Sport, and moved to a larger location in PASCO. So that's what ports do, a lot, whether it's our port or Benton or PASCO, is we try to incubate those types of businesses and provide them opportunities to expand and grow and provide jobs from this community. In West Richland, we own the former racetrack property, where I'm sure Commissioner Wagner and Commissioner Keck probably raced their cars at one day. Is that right? Oh, yeah, and Councilman Gary too, that's right. I heard about those. Anyway, we own that property, and we're working with the City of West Richland and the state on bringing that property into the urban growth area for West Richland. We're also working with West Richland, the state, and the county on the Red Mountain Interchange, and you probably read about that, where there is proposed a potential for funding for that interchange, which would open up economic development opportunities in West Richland. West Richland is actually the only city between, I believe, Seattle and the Tri-Cities that has no interstate access at all. So we're pretty excited about that. The 93 acres right there in the racetrack property are adjacent to the Red Mountain. It would be an excellent opportunity to develop various wine-related type industries, warehousing, manufacturing, and various other services that are wine-related. Okay, now I guess I'll talk about Vista Field. Nobody's going to throw anything at me, are you? Okay. Well, Vista Field represents 112 acres right in the middle of the Tri-Cities. The port purchased that property from the city of Kennewick in 1991, and the commissioners voted to retain it as an airport in 2010, almost 3 years ago. Actually, I think it'll be 3 years ago next month. When we did that, it was based on the fact that we were looking at and promised private sector investment that would help subsidize Vista Field. That didn't happen. We tried to get a fixed base operator there. We'd had one previously, actually we had two previously, and both of them left because they couldn't make their businesses run profitably at Vista Field. There wasn't enough business. So being stewards of the public fund, public's money, and having fiduciary responsibilities, the commissioners really wanted to see what were the true costs involved in Vista Field, what were the true benefits in Vista Field, what was the true income of Vista Field. We hired DPZ to take a look at that, and there has been some private sector investment, but not directly related to Vista Field, not anything that would help subsidize the cost of maintaining and running that airport. Pacific Cataract and Laser Institute purchased $500,000 of land, and they constructed are constructing a building for their Laser Institute. Cadwell Labs did make about a $2 million investment to their property, but again, those are outside the fence. None of those investments help to subsidize the cost of running the airport at this time. And actually, I think Commissioner Keck said you had, what, 150 aircraft? Vista Field right now, I believe, has 17. So we really wanted to find out what is the value of Vista Field? What's it really cost? There's been several studies that were done. All of them were done for specific purposes. So we hired a firm called DPZ to take a look at that. And we wanted three options. We wanted them to do an EIS. The first option was to expand the airport. And that would include a lot of public amenities. It would include connectivity to the entertainment district and on to Columbia Center Mall. And it would include, actually what it would do is create what the public said that they really wanted to see in Vista Field. And that was a general aviation airport that was perhaps one of the finest in the Northwest or maybe in the country, and created as a destination airport. The second was a redevelopment opportunity where Vista Field would be closed and redeveloped for other purposes, possibly a new downtown for the Tri-Cities. And the third option was a no-action alternative, which is required by law for an environmental impact statement. And there's been some misconception about the no-action alternative, saying that that means nothing would happen. That's not the case. The no-action alternative, although is required by law, we did approve the master plan for Vista Field. So the no-action alternative would be to continue to follow that no-action or that master plan. That would be the no-action alternative. That master plan was put together by a citizens advisory group, but it's basically an unfunded plan. It's about a $20 million plan that has about I think a little over $2 million over 20 years from port investment, and the rest is from the private sector. The consultant has repeatedly stated, and we've looked at some of the comments and stuff, and there was only one comment that was made to stick with the no action alternative, which means follow the master plan. And that was from UPS. And UPS said that they're just fine with the way things are, just follow the master plan, we'll be happy. UPS is located adjacent to the airport. They use the airport only on Saturdays. They fly larger planes during the week, and they land in PASCO and then bring their goods over to their warehouse to distribute. So the no-action alternative had very, very little interest from the public. The other plans, no matter which one was there, both have a lot of benefits to them and benefits to the community. But just what are those benefits and what are the costs? That's what the DPZ did, is they went through and took a look at all the benefits, not just what the financial numbers mean, but what are the benefits to the community? How many jobs are created by expanding the airport? How many jobs would be created by closing the airport and redeveloping it? And of course, the no action alternative, would be kind of keeping things the way they are, which means there wouldn't be much happening at all. The expansion alternative included the port building a high-quality FBO building, something that would show that the airport was going to stay open long-term, would entice other pilots to come to Vista Field, and we would have other public amenities, walking paths, as I said, landscape, artwork, signage, additional off-site hangars, and just create an aerotropolis, an airport community. It's a very exciting plan. It's something that was thought about when the community came together and created the Vista Field Master Plan, actually. Only it's an expanded thing that the consultants obtained the information for this idea from various charrettes and talking to the various people that came to meetings and submitted their comments to the port and also to DPZ. The redevelopment alternative would be to close the airport, create a mixed-use urban framework with improved connectivity to shopping and entertainment and flex industrial areas. Again, it would create new public open spaces, parks, plazas, possibly a water feature like San Antonio. Again, these are just ideas, but possibilities. None of those are carved in stone yet. It would be a phased closure and development. It would be either one of those other two plans, whether it was an aerotropolis and expanded the airport or it was closed and redeveloped, are 20-year plans. But the numbers in the plan, if you look at the port's website and you take a look at the plan, the numbers that are there are based on 2013 dollars. They're based on today's dollars. So it's a pretty fair comparison if you take a look at it, and if you want to extrapolate those numbers out into the future, that's your discretion, but we wanted to compare apples to apples. The consultants have repeatedly said that regardless of the option, which option is chosen, which option, whether we put it out to an advisory vote and ask the public if they what they would like to see, or whether the commissioners make the decision themselves, the public says that regardless, they're asking for attractive spaces and connectivity. That was very obvious from everybody that they talked to. Now, according to a little bit of numbers, according to the draft EIS, which we have currently, we won't be receiving the final one until I believe sometime in March, where they've taken all the comments that were received from the draft plan and they're incorporating them into the final document. Alternatives 1 and 3, either making major expansions or following the master plan that currently exists, would require additional taxes to fund those improvements. As I told you, keep it the way it is, the no action alternative, that plan called for about $20 million, $22 million, something like that, most of it from the private sector. The alternative to expand the airport is about a $43 million project. Again, the port would have to go to the taxpayers and ask them if they wanted to increase their tax base to support the airport. The plan to close and redevelop the airport would be funded from land sales. We're estimating that there's about $15.6 million of available land. Once the airport was closed and the infrastructure was put in, it would net the taxpayers about $3.7 million. So that's kind of a numbers comparison, but that's not the only thing that you need to compare when you take a look at Vistafield, because what are the other values that are involved? So right now, the Port Commissioners are waiting for the DPZ study to come back, the final study. Once we get that back, we'll spend some time studying it and decide whether we want to ask the public to weigh in on it or not, or whether we make the decision ourselves. That's still up in the air, that hasn't been decided. And with that, I guess if anybody has any other comments and would like to submit them, please do. We'd like to hear from everybody on this issue because it's a big issue. It involves all the taxpayers in a rather large district, and it involves an awful lot of money. So if you have any comments, please send them in to vistafield@portofkennewick.org. And with that, everybody's looking at their watch down here, so I think my time's up. So thank you very much for letting me tell you about what's going on with the Port of Kennewick.